The story begins on the planet of Xalfar, a peaceful and beautiful world that was once a thriving hub of culture and knowledge. The Xalfar, an alien race with a rich history, had always believed in harmony and technology designed to help others. They were not a warlike species, and their advancements were focused on peaceful exploration of the galaxy. But now, all of that was about to change. The sky above Xalfar burned. Cities that had stood for centuries crumbled to dust. Buildings once grand now lay in ruins, and the air was filled with the sounds of destruction. The Zorvans, a powerful and merciless alien empire, had descended upon them. Their ships blotted out the sun, their weapons tearing through the planet's defenses like paper. The Xalfar had no answer to this onslaught. Their technology, although advanced in many ways, was no match for the sheer brutality and firepower of the Zorvans. As the Xalfar leaders huddled in their last remaining stronghold, they knew it was only a matter of time before they were wiped out completely. They had no more allies. The galaxy had turned its back on them, and every plea for help had gone unanswered. The Zorvans were relentless, their forces overwhelming in numbers and strength. The Xalfar had tried to defend themselves, but their defenses crumbled before the Zorvans' might. In this darkest moment, when all hope seemed lost, one thought crossed their minds: the humans. The Xalfar had heard rumors of this mysterious species known for their fierce and deadly nature. Humans had earned a reputation across the galaxy, not as peaceful explorers like the Xalfar, but as warriors. The rumors spoke of their incredible power, their brutal efficiency in battle, and their willingness to protect those in need. Some said they were merciless. Others claimed they'd fought for the underdog. The Xalfar didn't know what to believe. They didn't know if the rumors were true, or if humanity's bloodthirsty reputation was exaggerated. But in their time of desperation, they had no choice but to trust in these rumors. The Xalfar, unwilling to face extinction without trying every possible chance, sent out a transmission. Their message, broadcast to the far reaches of the galaxy, was simple yet filled with urgency. We have no choice. If the humans are anything like the rumors say, then we're either doomed, or they will save us. The message was sent in the hopes that some human ship, some small part of this fearsome species, would hear it. It was a desperate plea for help, but it was all they had. The transmission was sent to Earth, a place far away, a place that Xalfar had never seen or encountered before. They didn't know if humans would answer, but the risk of doing nothing was too great. The Zorvans would eventually crush them completely if they didn't act. Back on Earth, the situation was quiet. Humanity had long since expanded into the stars, having become a powerful presence in the galaxy, but they were not a part of the Galactic Council. They did not take sides in the endless galactic politics, and they rarely interfered in the struggles of other species. Humans had built their reputation as fierce warriors, but they kept mostly to themselves. Still, the call from the Xalfar reached their attention. There was no hesitation. The humans had been called, and they would answer. For centuries, humanity had been known as the killers among the stars. It was a nickname that many feared and others admired. The humans had built themselves into a formidable force, with advanced technology and unyielding resolve. They were survivors, and when they received the desperate signal from the Xalfar, they knew exactly what they had to do. The scene cuts to black, the screen silent except for a chilling voiceover. We have no choice. If the humans are anything like the rumors say, then we're either doomed, or they will save us. The words echo as the black screen flickers, suddenly lighting up with a brilliant flash. A large human warship appears, materializing above the Xalfar homeworld. It is a massive ship, sleek and deadly, with technology far beyond anything the Xalfar had ever seen. The ship is cloaked, making it almost invisible against the backdrop of the burning planet, but its presence is undeniable. The hum of its advanced engines fills the air, sending a chill through the hearts of the Xalfar. The humans have arrived. But what does this mean for the Xalfar? Are these killer humans their saviors, or is their reputation about to lead to even more destruction? The ship looms overhead, dark and imposing, casting a shadow over the planet below. The Xalfar wonder if they have made the right choice. Was summoning humanity a blessing or a curse? As the ship continues to hover above the planet, a voice crackles through the communication channels, cutting through the static. It's the voice of Captain David Hartman, leader of the human fleet. "We're here to help," he says, his tone firm and unwavering. "But we do things our way." The words send a ripple of fear and hope through the Xalfar. What could doing things their way possibly mean? The Xalfar had seen the devastation the Zorvans had wrought, and they could only imagine the kind of power the humans must wield. They knew their only hope lay in this mysterious species, but at what cost? The ship above them seems to grow larger with every passing second, its advanced technology more than the Xalfar could comprehend. The humans had come, and with them came the promise of something they had not dared to hope for: survival. But even as hope flickers, the question remains: can the feared killer humans truly save the Xalfar, or will their destructive power bring even more devastation to a planet on the brink of collapse? With the Zorvans' relentless assault continuing below and the human warship hovering above, the Xalfar's fate now lies in the hands of these fierce warriors from Earth. The story is far from over. Will the humans live up to their reputation, or will they prove to be just another force of destruction in a galaxy filled with conflict? The suspense builds, and the story pushes forward into the unknown. As the Xalfar wait for their rescue, or their doom, the question lingers in the air: can these feared killers save us, or are we already too late? The air on Xalfar's planet was thick with tension as the massive human warship hovered above the crumbling cities. From the planet's surface, the Xalfar watched in awe and disbelief as the ship's sleek, advanced design shimmered in the sky. It was a marvel of technology, a ship unlike anything the Xalfar had ever seen. Its hull seemed to blend with the atmosphere, thanks to its cloaking devices, making it nearly invisible against the smoke-filled sky. Its weapons, pulsating with dangerous energy, sent shivers down the spines of the alien onlookers. The mere presence of the human ship was both a glimmer of hope and a source of deep fear. As the ship slowly descended, a hush fell over the Xalfar survivors gathered in the last remaining stronghold. The thought of salvation had reached them, but it came at the cost of trusting a race known for its brutal efficiency in battle. The humans' reputation for being ruthless, cold-blooded killers had spread across the galaxy. They were not known for negotiation or diplomacy. When the humans arrived, they were there for one thing: to win, no matter the cost. The Xalfar were unsure whether this was the kind of help they had hoped for, or whether they had just invited their own destruction. Commander Nidalra, the leader of the Xalfar, stood at the edge of their stronghold, her eyes scanning the skies. She had seen the devastation wrought by the Zorvans, her people's cities burning to the ground, their history and culture being erased in the blink of an eye. The Zorvans were unstoppable, and the Xalfar had no choice but to place their hopes in the hands of the humans. But doubt gnawed at her. Could these killer humans really save them? Or would they be another force of destruction, sweeping across her world in an unrelenting wave? The human warship landed with a soft thud, sending a ripple of dust through the air. A ramp lowered from the belly of the ship, and the humans began to disembark. Captain David Hartman, the notorious leader of the human team, was the first to step onto the surface of Xalfar. His uniform was spotless, the insignia of his rank gleaming in the sunlight. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and his presence alone seemed to command attention. His face was hard, his eyes steely, a man who had seen the worst the galaxy had to offer and had lived through it. As Captain Hartman's boots touched the ground, the Xalfar gasped. There was no welcoming ceremony, no offer of peace. The humans had come to do one thing: fight. And they would do it their way. There was no room for negotiation. The Xalfar had sent a desperate call for help, and they had answered. But in this alliance, humanity was the one holding all the power. The Xalfar leader, Commander Nylora, approached cautiously, flanked by her remaining council members. She was tall, graceful, and radiated authority, but the fear in her eyes was hard to hide. She had seen too much death, too much destruction. The Zorvans had already killed millions, and she couldn't afford to lose any more of her people. She had agreed to the humans' help, but it wasn't without reservation. Could they be trusted? Captain Hartman's cold gaze met hers as he spoke, his voice calm but firm. "We didn't come here to ask for your permission," he said. "We came to destroy the Zorvans and save your people if we can. But understand this, we don't offer mercy. We offer survival. If you want our help, it comes at a cost. You will fight alongside us, or you will perish with the rest." His words were blunt, unyielding. The Xalfar had no idea how to respond. Their culture was one of peace, but the galaxy had taught them that peace was a fragile thing. They had seen the Zorvans crush entire civilizations, their ruthlessness unmatched. The Zorvans had already enslaved hundreds of species, and the Xalfar were next on their list. They had no choice but to accept the help of the humans, no matter how terrifying their reputation might be. The Zorvans would leave them no future if they didn't fight back. But Nylora could not shake the feeling of unease. She had heard the stories of human warriors who fought without mercy, who killed without hesitation. They were called killer humans for a reason. Would they really fight to save her people, or would they slaughter them as easily as they had slaughtered their enemies in the past? As Captain Hartman and his team moved to prepare for the battle, Nylora couldn't help but watch them closely. The humans were unlike any species she had ever encountered. Their uniforms were advanced, and their weapons gleamed with deadly precision. Their ships, their armor, their technology. It was all far beyond what the Xalfar could even begin to understand. They were powerful, terrifyingly so. And they were here for one purpose: to wage war against the Zorvans. The humans had no interest in diplomacy. They did not come to the Xalfar to negotiate or plead for peace. They came to fight. Their goal was clear: to destroy the Zorvans. And in doing so, they would save the Xalfar. But the cost of their help was not yet clear. "I need you to understand something," Captain Hartman said, his voice low but filled with authority as he turned to face Commander Nylora. "The Zorvans will not stop. They will not listen to reason. They will only understand force, and we will use that force to crush them. We will not spare anyone who stands in our way, including them." He gestured toward the horizon, where the Zorvan forces continued their assault. Nylora nodded, though doubt still lingered in her heart. "I understand. But can you guarantee that my people will survive this? Can you promise that we will not be destroyed in the process?" Captain Hartman's eyes narrowed. "I can't guarantee survival. War doesn't work that way. But what I can promise you is this: when the dust settles, you'll still be here. Your people will still be here. If you stand with us, we will fight to the last. And we will win." His words were final. There was no room for debate, no room for fear. The humans had made their decision, and the Xalfar were left with little choice but to follow. As the humans prepared for battle, Nylora felt a deep sense of unease settle in her chest. The Zorvans had been relentless, but now they would face a new enemy, a race of warriors who fought for survival, with no interest in mercy. Could they really save her people, or had the Xalfar simply traded one enemy for another? The humans were here, and the time for hesitation was over. It was time to fight. But in the back of Nylora's mind, one question kept echoing. Would the humans really be the saviors they promised to be, or would they bring about even more destruction? The battle for Xalfar had begun, and with it, the uncertain alliance between the Xalfar and humanity. Would it be the beginning of a new chapter for the Xalfar, or would it mark the end of their civilization? Only time would tell. The first strike came at dawn, as the human warships, cloaked and silent, appeared above the Xalfar planet. The Zorvans, who had been relentlessly bombing the world below, were unprepared for the brutal efficiency of the humans. The Xalfar watched from the surface, their eyes wide with disbelief and awe, as the battle unfolded in the skies above them. Captain David Hartman stood in the command center of the human warship, his fingers flying across the control panels, issuing orders to his team. "Initiate the strike," he commanded. The hum of the ship's systems filled the air, and the massive warship shimmered momentarily before decloaking, revealing its enormous size and terrifying firepower. The Zorvans, caught off guard, scrambled to organize their forces, but it was too late. The humans had already begun their assault. Drones, sleek and fast, shot out from the warships, their cloaking devices making them nearly invisible as they swooped down on the Zorvan fleet. These drones were equipped with advanced weapons, and the humans' eye-controlled robots swiftly followed, engaging the Zorvans in close-quarters combat. The Zorvans' technology was impressive, their ships massive and heavily armored, but they had no preparation for the guerrilla tactics of the humans. The human forces moved like shadows, appearing out of nowhere, striking with deadly precision. The Zorvan shields flickered under the intense firepower of the human drones, and their ships began to fall one by one. The battle raged on in space, a chaotic mix of space dogfights and brutal ground combat. Human soldiers on the ground, clad in advanced armor, charged into the fray with no hesitation. Their weapons, designed for maximum destruction, tore through the Zorvans' defenses, leaving nothing but burning wreckage in their wake. On the surface, the Xalfar watched in stunned silence. They had never seen anything like this before. The humans fought with such intensity and precision that it seemed almost unnatural. They were not here for glory or conquest. They were here to kill, and they did it with ruthless efficiency. Commander Nylora, standing among her people, felt a growing sense of awe and fear. She had heard the stories of the humans, how they fought without mercy, how they were feared across the galaxy. But seeing it in person was something entirely different. The humans didn't just fight for survival. They fought for each other. Their loyalty to one another was unshakable, their commitment to their cause evident in every move they made. She saw it clearly when one of the human soldiers, Bonner, charged forward into a Zorvan ambush. The Zorvans had managed to flank the humans, catching them by surprise. Bonner, however, showed no fear. He fought with the precision of a man who had seen countless battles and understood the stakes. He moved swiftly, dispatching enemies with calculated strikes, his focus unwavering. But then, in the midst of the chaos, a Zorvan heavy soldier managed to land a hit. Bonner was struck, falling to the ground with a heavy thud. His comrades quickly surrounded him, continuing to fight off the Zorvans while dragging him to safety. Despite his injuries, Bonner never showed a hint of fear. He looked up at his teammates, his voice steady. "Keep fighting," he said, the words full of grit and determination. "We win this, or we die trying." Bonner's death in the heat of battle marked a turning point for the humans. They mourned his loss, but it didn't slow them down. If anything, it fueled their fury. With Bonner's sacrifice in their minds, they fought harder, more fiercely than ever before. Their bond, their loyalty to each other, became even stronger. It was no longer just about the mission. It was about honoring the fallen, continuing the fight, and ensuring that Bonner's sacrifice was not in vain. As the battle continued, the tide slowly began to turn in the humans' favor. The Zorvans, though technologically advanced, were not prepared for the human way of war. Their tactics were predictable, linear, while the humans struck from unexpected angles, using advanced cloaking technology to remain unseen and devastating the Zorvans from within their ranks. The Zorvans' ships, once thought to be impenetrable, now fell before the relentless assault of the human forces. Meanwhile, on the surface, Commander Nylora watched in disbelief as the humans fought with a fire she had never seen before. Her people, who had been cowering in fear for so long, now began to stir with a sense of hope. They had witnessed the brutality of the Zorvans firsthand, but now they saw something different. Humans fighting not just for themselves, but for the Xalfar, risking their lives to protect a race they had never met. Nyla's heart began to shift. She had seen the Xalfar fight for their survival. But this was different. The humans fought not just with technology, but with their hearts. The bond between the soldiers, their unrelenting drive to protect each other and those they fought for, was something that Nyla had never experienced. The Xalfar had been a peaceful people, but she could not deny that in this battle, they were witnessing something that could change the course of their history. As the battle drew to a close, the human forces began to regroup, their mission a success. The Zorvan fleet had been shattered, and many of their soldiers lay dead or dying. The skies above Xalfar were now clear, free from the threat of the Zorvans, for the moment. But the cost of the victory was high. Bonner had fallen, along with several other brave soldiers, their lives given to ensure the Xalfar's survival. Commander Nyla stepped forward, her voice soft but filled with gratitude. "Your people, your warriors, they are unlike any I have ever seen. You came to our world as strangers, yet you fought for us as if we were your own." She looked at Captain Hartman, who stood silently beside her, his expression unreadable, but his eyes filled with respect for his fallen soldiers. Captain Hartman gave a small nod. "We fight for those who can't fight for themselves," he said simply, "and we'll keep fighting until the Zorvans are nothing but a memory." Nyla didn't know what to say to that. She had witnessed the human soldiers' brutality firsthand, but now she saw a different side of them, a side that fought not for conquest, but for survival. The Xalfar had found unexpected allies in the humans, an alliance that would change the course of the galaxy. As the sun set on the battlefield, the Xalfar began to bury their dead, including the brave Bonner. But there was no sadness, only a deep sense of respect. The humans had proven their worth, and as Commander Nyla looked toward the horizon, she realized that the Xalfar were not alone anymore. They had made a powerful ally in the fight against the Zorvans. The first strike had been a success, but the war was far from over. The humans had shown the Xalfar what true warriors were capable of, and in the process, they had earned their trust. Now it was time to prepare for the next battle. The Zorvans would not give up easily, but neither would the humans. The fight for the future of Xalfar and the galaxy had only just begun. The Zorvans had never been ones to back down. After their crushing defeat at the hands of the humans, they retreated to regroup, but it didn't take long for them to recover. They were angry, fueled by the desire to annihilate the Xalfar and wipe out the humans who had dared to defy their superiority. The Zorvans' retaliation was swift and brutal, and they launched a full-scale invasion with the intent to end the war once and for all. The humans, led by Captain David Hartman, had prepared for this. They knew the Zorvans would come with everything they had, and the humans had no illusions. This would be the final stand, the last chance to defeat the Zorvans before their empire could crush everything in its path. The stakes were high. If they failed, it would not only mean the end of the Xalfar, but the extinction of humanity's soldiers as well. The Zorvans' invasion fleet arrived like a dark cloud, blotting out the sun and casting a terrifying shadow over the Xalfar planet. The sheer scale of their ships was enough to make even the hardiest of warriors hesitate. The humans, however, did not flinch. They had faced death countless times and had never shied away from battle. They knew what needed to be done. Captain Hartman gave his orders, his voice calm but firm. "We've fought for their survival. Now it's time to fight for ours. We go in hard and fast. We break them from the inside out." The plan was to infiltrate the Zorvan mothership, their most powerful and heavily fortified vessel. This would be a mission unlike any other, a do-or-die operation where failure meant the end of everything. The humans had been through countless battles, but this one would be different. They would be deep within enemy territory, facing not only the Zorvans' immense power, but the fear of losing everything they had fought for. As the human soldiers boarded their ships, they were more determined than ever. They knew this battle was not just about defeating an enemy. It was about saving the people they had sworn to protect. The Xalfar had become their allies, their brothers and sisters in arms, and the thought of losing them was something none of the humans could bear. The bond between the two races had been forged in the heat of battle, and now it was time to prove that this bond was worth fighting for. The human forces moved swiftly, infiltrating the Zorvan fleet with practiced precision. Their cloaking technology made them almost invisible, and their eye-controlled drones provided vital support, taking out enemy patrols before they even knew what hit them. The Zorvan's defenses were formidable, but the humans' tactics were unpredictable, using everything from EMP weapons to high-tech sabotage to dismantle the Zorvan fleet from within. As the human forces infiltrated the Zorvan stronghold, the battle quickly turned into a chaotic, high-octane war zone. Hand-to-hand combat erupted in every hallway, as human soldiers clashed with Zorvan forces in brutal, close-quarters fighting. Explosions rocked the ship, tearing through walls and sending debris flying. The air was thick with smoke and the sounds of weapons firing. The humans were relentless, pushing forward with the determination to finish what they had started. In the heart of the battle, Captain Hartman fought side by side with Commander Nylra. The Zorvans had underestimated the strength of the humans' resolve, but now they were learning the truth. The humans fought with an intensity that was impossible to ignore, their movements fluid and lethal, their attacks precise and calculated. Hartman and Nylra moved as one, their actions synchronized as if they had fought together for years. The deeper they pushed into the Zorvan mothership, the more intense the fighting became. They encountered Zorvan soldiers at every turn, but the humans were always one step ahead, using their advanced weapons and technology to strike with lethal force. The Zorvans fought back fiercely, their desperation growing with each passing minute, but the humans' guerrilla tactics and unwavering determination began to turn the tide in their favor. The Zorvans' advanced technology was no match for the humans' resourcefulness. The humans used everything they had at their disposal to sabotage the Zorvan fleet from within. EMP weapons disabled the Zorvans' electronics, rendering their ships useless. A-driven support units, programmed to target weak points in the enemy's defenses, worked tirelessly to tear apart the Zorvans' infrastructure. As the human forces pushed deeper into the mothership, they encountered more resistance, but the humans were undeterred. They fought with the fury of soldiers who knew what was at stake, who understood that every victory brought them closer to saving the Xalfar, and perhaps even their own species. During the thick of the battle, as Hartman and Nylra fought side by side, something began to shift between them. The bond they had formed during their earlier battles had deepened, forged by the fire of war, and the shared goal of protecting their people. Nylra had seen the humans as killers at first, brutal and merciless. But now, as she fought alongside Captain Hartman, she saw something different. These humans were not just killers. They were protectors, fighting not just for their survival, but for the survival of others. Captain Hartman, his armor dented and bloodied, glanced over at Nylra as they moved through the chaos. "We fight because we believe in something," he said, his voice grim but determined. "We may be killers, but we kill to save lives. We kill to protect those who can't protect themselves. And we do it, not for glory, but because we have no choice." Nylra looked at him, her expression hardening with understanding. "You fight for others," she said, almost in disbelief. "I didn't understand that at first, but now I see it." The words hung between them as they continued to fight, moving through the Zorvan mothership with a sense of purpose and unity. Their actions spoke louder than any words could as they fought side by side, knowing that their victory was not just for themselves, but for every life they had vowed to protect. As the battle raged on, the Zorvans began to realize that they had underestimated the humans. Their forces were being torn apart from within, their powerful ships slowly crumbling under the relentless assault of the human soldiers. The tide of the battle had turned, and there was no stopping the humans now. In the final moments, as the human forces closed in on the Zorvan command center, Captain Hartman gave the order to launch the final strike. A massive explosion erupted as the Zorvan mothership was torn apart from the inside out. The humans had done the impossible. They had infiltrated the heart of the Zorvan fleet and destroyed it, ensuring the survival of the Xalfar and perhaps the entire galaxy. The Zorvans were defeated, their fleet reduced to rubble, and their empire shattered. The human forces stood victorious, but the cost of victory was high. Many had fallen in the battle, their sacrifices ensuring the survival of others. Captain Hartman looked around at his team, his heart heavy with the weight of their losses, but proud of what they had achieved. Nylra, standing beside him, nodded solemnly. "We will never forget what you have done for us," she said, her voice filled with respect. "You have saved our world, and we are forever in your debt." Captain Hartman nodded, his expression serious. "We didn't do it for thanks," he said quietly. "We did it because we believe in something. We fight for others, and we always will." The war was over, but the bond between the humans and the Xalfar had only just begun. Together, they had faced an unimaginable enemy and emerged victorious. The galaxy would never be the same, and neither would they. The humans had proven that they were more than just killers. They were protectors, warriors who fought not for glory, but for the survival of those who couldn't fight for themselves. And in the end, it was that spirit that would lead them into whatever battles lay ahead. The tension in the air was thick as Captain Hartman and his team made their final push toward the heart of the Zorvan mothership. The mission had already cost them dearly, with many soldiers lost in the preceding battles. Yet they had made it this far, and now they stood on the edge of victory or destruction. With bombs planted throughout the ship's core, the human soldiers were ready to unleash a devastating blow to the Zorvan Empire. The plan was simple: destroy the ship from within, incapacitating the Zorvans, and ending the war once and for all. But as often happens in battle, things didn't go as planned. In the middle of the operation, something went wrong. An explosion tore through the ship, and the shockwave sent a group of soldiers, including Bonner, flying. Bonner, a loyal and fierce warrior, had always been one to put others before himself. He had always fought with the conviction that his life meant little in the grand scheme of things, as long as the mission succeeded. Now, with the ship shaking around him, and the mission slipping from their grasp, Bonner made a choice. He saw the core of the ship, the heart of their plan, in jeopardy. There was only one way to ensure the mission's success. With determination in his eyes, Bonner turned to his comrades and shouted, "Get out of here. I'll hold them off." Before anyone could protest, he sprinted toward the core, a bomb in his hands. The blast had been devastating, and the Zorvans were quickly regrouping to stop the humans from completing their mission. Bonner knew he wouldn't make it out alive, but that didn't matter. He had given everything for this moment, the chance to end the war and save his comrades. As the other soldiers scrambled to escape, Bonner pushed forward, reaching the control panel and activating the final bomb. His last moments were filled with the sounds of Zorvan soldiers closing in, their weapons ready to tear him apart. But Bonner didn't flinch. He stood tall, facing the end, knowing that his sacrifice would be the key to their victory. The explosion that followed was deafening. It shook the entire mothership to its core. The ship's defenses crumpled as the explosion tore through its hull, igniting the core and spreading chaos in every direction. The humans' mission had succeeded, but at a monumental cost. Bonner was gone, a hero in the truest sense of the word. Meanwhile, outside the ship, the Zorvans' forces were collapsing. Their once feared empire was crumbling, and the survivors knew there was no hope of retaliation. The Zorvans' mothership, their most powerful vessel, had been destroyed from the inside, and with it, their ability to wage war on the Xalfar and humanity. The humans had done the impossible. Amidst the chaos of battle, Captain Hartman and Commander Nylra found themselves together once again. They had been through so much already, but this final moment felt different. The war was over, the Zorvans were defeated, but it was the price of that victory that weighed heavily on them. In the midst of the shattered landscape, and the lingering smoke, Hartman and Nylora stood side by side. They shared a quiet moment, taking in the wreckage around them. The air was filled with the scent of destruction, but there was something else in the air too, a sense of relief. It wasn't the joy of victory, not yet. It was something more somber, more profound. Nylora turned to Hartman, her gaze intense yet filled with an understanding that transcended words. "Your people," she started, her voice filled with emotion. "They give everything. For others. For strangers. For allies. I can see it now. I didn't understand before. But I understand now." Hartman nodded, his expression solemn. He had fought alongside his team for so long, but the loss of his comrades, especially Bonner, was something that would stay with him for the rest of his life. "We fight for others, Nylora. We always have. We fight because we believe in something greater than ourselves." The two stood in silence, the weight of everything that had transpired settling over them. There was no celebration, no shouting, no rejoicing, only quiet reflection on the cost of the victory they had earned. The Zorvans had been crushed, their empire destroyed. The Xalfar had been saved, their world spared from annihilation. But at what cost? The humans had given their blood, their lives, and their loyalty to a cause that was not their own. They had fought for the underdog, for the oppressed, for those who couldn't protect themselves. And now, after everything, the victory felt bittersweet. Hartman's thoughts turned to his fallen soldiers, to Bonner, to all those who had given everything for this moment. Their sacrifices would never be forgotten, not by him, and not by the Xalfar. The human warriors had shown the galaxy that they were more than just soldiers. They were protectors, willing to sacrifice everything for the lives of others. Nylora, as if reading his thoughts, placed a hand on his shoulder. "Your soldiers have taught us something," she said softly. "They have taught us what true loyalty is, what true sacrifice means." Hartman looked at her, his eyes wary but filled with a quiet pride. "We do what we have to, Nylora. We do what we must to survive, and to protect those who can't protect themselves." The Zorvans were defeated, but the cost had been high. The humans had proven their brutal loyalty once again, and in doing so, they had forged an unbreakable bond with the Xalfar. The alliance between the two races had been cemented in the fire of battle, and it would endure long after the war was over. As the remaining human soldiers gathered, Hartman took a moment to honor the fallen, their sacrifices not lost on him. They had given everything to ensure the success of the mission, and now, as they stood victorious, they would honor their comrades by continuing to fight for the oppressed, for the underdog, for the weak. The final battle had been won. The Zorvans had been destroyed. But the war was more than just a battle between two forces. It was about something deeper. It was about honor, sacrifice, and loyalty. The humans had proven that they were willing to give everything for a cause that was greater than themselves, and in doing so, they had earned the respect of their allies and the fear of their enemies. As Captain Hartman and Nylora looked out over the battlefield, they knew that this was only the beginning. The galaxy had been forever changed, and the bond between the humans and the Xalfar had been solidified. Together, they had faced impossible odds and emerged victorious. The sacrifice of those who had fallen would never be forgotten, and their legacy would live on in the hearts of those who had fought alongside them. For Hartman, for the humans, and for the Xalfar, the war was over. But the fight for justice, for protection, and for the survival of those who needed it most, this fight would never end. They had proven their loyalty to the underdog cause, and that loyalty would carry them through whatever battles lay ahead. The aftermath of the battle was one of devastation and relief, but also deep reflection. The Xalfar planet, which had been teetering on the brink of annihilation, was now safe. The war that had ravaged their world was over. The Zorvans had been defeated, their empire dismantled, and the Xalfar were spared from extinction. But the cost of this victory had been immense. The price of survival had been written in the blood of countless soldiers, both human and Xalfar, and it was a price that would weigh heavily on the survivors for the rest of their lives. As the last human soldiers prepared to leave, Captain Hartman stood at the forefront, watching his team as they boarded their ships. Their mission was complete. The Zorvans had been wiped out, and the Xalfar were free. Yet the weight of the loss still hung in the air. The human soldiers, who had once been seen as cold-blooded killers, were now viewed differently by the Xalfar. The rumors of their brutality had been shattered in the face of their actions. The Xalfar had seen the truth. They weren't just there to kill. They had come to protect, to fight for the weak, to shield the helpless from the darkness that threatened to consume them. Nylra stood amidst the ruins of her planet, her eyes scanning the battlefield. The destruction was all around her, once thriving cities reduced to rubble, landscapes scarred by the carnage of war. The smell of smoke lingered in the air, a constant reminder of the battle that had raged. Yet in the midst of the destruction, there was also a sense of hope. The Xalfar had survived. They were going to rebuild. They were going to continue. But it wasn't just the Xalfar who had been changed by this war. Nylra had been transformed as well. She had started this journey with distrust and fear, wary of the humans and their reputation. They had come to her world as merciless killers, ruthless in their approach. But what she had witnessed over the past few days had changed everything. The humans had fought with unwavering resolve, not for glory or power, but for the survival of others. They had fought for the Xalfar, despite the hatred and fear they had once felt. They had chosen to save them, not because they had to, but because they believed in the value of life, of protecting the innocent. Nylra stood silently, reflecting on the incredible sacrifice she had witnessed. She thought of Bonner, the brave soldier who had given his life to ensure the success of the mission. His sacrifice, along with the sacrifices of so many others, was a testament to the humans' true nature. They were not just ruthless warriors. They were protectors. They had the strength to destroy, but they also had the strength to protect, to give everything for the greater good. The Zorvans had been destroyed, their empire shattered. But the humans had shown Nylra something more valuable than mere victory. They had shown her the meaning of selflessness. As she stood there, looking at the horizon, Nylra saw the faint outlines of the human ships lifting off, disappearing into the vastness of space. The humans were leaving, returning to their homeworld, their mission complete. The Xalfar had been saved, and now it was time for the humans to go. But even as their ships vanished from sight, Nylra knew that they would never be forgotten. The humans had left their mark on her people. They had proven that their strength wasn't just in their weapons or their tactics, but in their hearts. It was a strength that came from their ability to protect, to sacrifice, and to fight for others, even when there was no reward to be gained. The humans were gone, but their legacy would live on forever in the hearts and minds of the Xalfar. The killer humans, as they had once been called, had become something more. They had become heroes. They had come to the aid of a race they didn't know, risking everything to save them from destruction. The Xalfar would never forget the humans who had fought for them, the humans who had chosen to protect them when they had been on the brink of annihilation. Nylra couldn't help but feel a sense of gratitude and admiration for the humans who had fought beside her. They had changed the course of history, not just for the Xalfar, but for themselves as well. Their brutal loyalty had been forged in the fires of battle, and it had made them stronger. They had proven that even in the darkest of times, humanity could rise above its reputation, above its flaws, and become something greater. In the quiet moments after the battle, Nylra reflected on what it meant to be strong. She had always thought strength was about power, about the ability to conquer and destroy. But now she understood that true strength was about protecting others, about sacrificing for the greater good. The humans had shown her that strength came not just from physical might, but from the willingness to lay down one's life for others. The humans had not come to conquer or to take, but to give everything they had to protect the lives of those who could not protect themselves. As the dust settled and the last remnants of the battle faded into memory, Nylra turned her gaze toward the horizon once more. The Xalfar were going to rebuild. They were going to move forward. The humans had given them a second chance, and they would not waste it. The sacrifice of the humans would never be forgotten, and in their honor, the Xalfar would strive to become better, stronger, and more compassionate. The finality of the moment hit Nylra hard. The war was over, but it wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something new, something better. The Xalfar and the humans had forged an alliance through blood and sacrifice, and now the two races would face the future together. No longer enemies, but allies. No longer strangers, but friends. As the sun set on the Xalfar world, Nylra allowed herself a rare moment of peace. She had seen the truth of humanity's strength, and she knew that the bond between their two races would endure. The legacy of the humans, of their sacrifice, their courage, and their willingness to protect the weak, would echo through the stars for generations to come. And in the quiet aftermath of battle, Nylra found herself filled with a new sense of purpose. The Xalfar had been saved, but there was still work to be done. There would always be others in need of protection, and she would make sure that the lessons learned from the humans would guide her people forward into a brighter future. And so, the story of the humans, the killer humans who had become heroes, came to an end. But their impact would resonate for eternity, echoing through the galaxy as a reminder that true strength lies not in destruction, but in the ability to protect, to sacrifice, and to rise above. The Xalfar would never forget the legacy of the humans, and neither would the universe.